You want me to put that on my Tudor?
This one's wife, Queen Camilla, 1. This one's wife, 0. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Dorothy Reddin writes at GB News, Queen Camilla celebrates podcast victory after this one's wife's Spotify failure. The Queen launched her new podcast in January, 7 months after it was announced that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were dropped from the streaming giant. Queen Camilla celebrated a victory with her new podcast today, just 7 months after it was announced that this one's wife's Spotify deal was axed. The Queen launched a new podcast titled The Queen's Reading Room Podcast earlier this month. It was named after the online book club she created during lockdown in 2021, while the COVID-19 pandemic was still rife. The first episode of the podcast included high-profile guests like Sir Ian Rankin and Dame Joanna Lumley, where they discussed their favourite books and literature. Today, Camilla celebrated her new podcast topping the Apple podcast charts in the United Kingdom, Canada and Australia. It also ranked 3rd place in New Zealand and 6th in the United States. This comes as this one's wife's Spotify deal, which she shared with Prince Harry, was axed in 2023. The Duchess of Sussex had only produced one podcast titled Archetypes, which featured popular celebrities like Serena Williams and Mariah Carey. According to reports, Spotify, Prince Harry and this one's wife made a mutual decision to part ways on their lucrative exclusive deal. They added in their joint statement that the Sussexes and Spotify were proud of the material they made together. At the time, Daniel Ek, Spotify's CEO, said the company was stepping out of some deals and relationships that haven't worked out. He added, "We overpaid relative to what we should have done." Royal fans were thrilled that Queen Camilla, age 76, topped the podcast charts around the world. One royal watcher posted on X, "Queen Camilla is really topping all of the charts." Another wrote, "Awesome, well deserved." So a little news there about the fact that Queen Camilla is topping the podcast charts, which naturally will be irksome to this one's wife if she were aware of this success of Queen Camilla, because of course as a mid-range narcissist, like any narcissist, she cannot stand it when other people are successful. Other people's success then throws into sharp relief the lack of her success. The fact that she doesn't have a podcast. The fact that her podcast isn't top of the charts. The fact that her podcast only lasted for one series and then was axed. It is a reminder of those threats to control. And therefore, the presence of Queen Camilla's success is something which threatens the need for control and is a reminder of the problem that this one's wife faced. However, there's more to it than this. For Queen Camilla, of course, it's all good fuel where people are praising her podcast, and the fact that she can look at the relative positions in the charts and see that she is riding high provides her with thought fuel as to the popularity that she's enjoying. It may also be the case that it causes her a wry smile of delight at the fact that she's doing well with a podcast and this one's wife did not. But what it does do is demonstrate just how those two individuals, both of whom are narcissists, are viewed. With Queen Camilla, of course, she was given a rough ride, as she was seen as the individual that broke up the marriage between Charles and Diana, even though that wasn't accurate. But nevertheless, she was very much given the blame. She was seen as the villain of the piece and had to work hard to be accepted by the British public. But it's something that she did. She dealt with those various threats to control, not by being bossy and telling the people how it should be, but by looking to fit in. That her narcissism responded by seeking agreement for the purposes of trying to assert that control. Undoubtedly, she will have complained privately to Charles about the way that she had been treated, commentary in the media, etc. But she sought out that acceptability, and now has achieved that. And it is seen, for example, by GB News reporting favourably about her. But not only is it the case that she gets some favourable coverage, which provides her with some fuel, it provides once again an opportunity for a news outlet, and GB News isn't the only one that's commented upon this, to compare Camilla's success to that of the failure of this one's wife. The Spotify deal fell apart last year. RC Wipes was a podcast the year before. And yet, relevant sections of the media are all too happy to resurrect the failings of this one's wife and compare them to the success of Camilla. That the news outlets will in effect triangulate her. It's not because the news outlet is a narcissist, it can't be. A news outlet cannot be a narcissist. But of course, the relevant individuals that make decisions can cause triangulation, because triangulation is not just the preserve of a narcissist, but it is usually used by narcissists. What occurs in these circumstances is that the success of Queen Camilla is then highlighted alongside the failure of this one's wife. Were it the case that this one's wife was actually liked and respected, no mention would have been made of the fact that Queen Camilla's podcast has done better compared to what this one's wife's did. But the fact that this one's wife isn't liked, the fact that she has tried to take on the media, that she has told lies about the media, for instance, suggesting that they called Archie by the N-word when it patently wasn't the case, means that they cut her no slack. And therefore, for many of the outlets, namely those that aren't the supine publications, if there's ever an opportunity to get a subtle dig in, to highlight the incompetencies, the lack of success, the failings, the ridiculousness of this one's wife, they will take it. This again is a collateral consequence of her behaviour. She, of course, being the eternal victim, will just see it as more grist to the mill. See, they don't like me. See, they're nasty about me. They are the haters. And once again, she fails to understand that she's brought it upon herself. She fails to understand that if she had taken an alternative course, they wouldn't make such comparisons. But they do so because they revel in pointing out her failures. They want to keep having a dig. And that isn't going to change anytime soon. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.